In the before time, I had a side gig with a close friend we called Fresher Heads. We worked with companies to kickstart their branding and marketing efforts by compiling all of the available intelligence about their enterprise, their market, and their competition. We used a very systematic process that lent itself to both the creative process and measurement. This presentation provides a glimpse at how it all worked. We used fresh fruit to mark the various chapters of the presentation, extending the fresher theme of our brand while breaking topics down according to 4 distinct categories. The first chapter provides an overview of an effective brand marketing process. The second talks about principles at the core of effective persuasion. The third elaborates on the current meaning of brand, and the fourth gets into the distinction between strategies and tactics while offering examples for business-to-business clients. We called our process M-Carta, drawing upon the idea of using a map to chart a path. In Phase 1 we gather all existing data related to the mission from both public and stakeholder experience. We speak with management to document unwritten intelligence related to our goals and then conduct a workshop to brainstorm solutions. In Phase 2, we work to verify the information generated by Phase 1, prioritize strategies by need and potential, and define the tactics most likely to effectively execute the strategies. We also formally write a brief narrative of the brand story and establish preliminary budgets. Phase 3 begins with a final plan review, after which we come up with creative concepts and chart out the media campaign. The final steps of Phase 3 are monitoring and iteration. Our next chapter is a recap of basic rhetorical principles, explaining how they fit into the process.
9th January 2007. Joshua Bell, one of the greatest violinists in the world, played to a packed audience at Boston's stately Symphony Hall of 1,000 people, where most seats went for more than $100. He was used to full sellout shows. He was at the peak of his abilities and fame. 3 days later, Joshua Bell played to an audience of nobody. Well, maybe 6 people paused for a moment, and one child stopped for a while, looking as if he understood that something special was happening. Joshua said of the experience, "It was a strange feeling that people were actually ignoring me." Joshua Bell was playing violin in a subway station. What changed? Same music, on the same violin, played with the same passion, and by the same man. Why did people listen, and then not listen? Aristotle would be able to explain. What does it take to persuade people? 2,300 years ago, Aristotle wrote the single most important work on persuasion, Rhetoric. The 3 means of persuasion: logos, ethos, and pathos. Logos is that the idea makes sense from the audience's point of view. This is usually different from the speaker's point of view, so work needs to be done to make the idea relevant to the worldview, the pains and the challenges of the listeners. A good argument is like good music. Good music follows some rules of composition. Good arguments follow some rules of logic. It makes sense to the audience. Ethos is reputation. What are you known for? Credibility. Do you look and act professional? Trustworthy. Are your motives clear? Do you show the listener that you care about them as much as yourself? Authority is confidence plus a concise message and clear, strong voice. Pathos is the emotional connection. Stories are an effective human tool for creating an emotional connection. There are moments where an audience is not ready to hear the message. A speaker must create the right emotional environment for their message. What changed? Why did people travel for miles to hear him play one night, and not even pause for a moment to listen the next morning? The answer is that ethos and pathos were missing. Ethos. The fact that the great concert hall hosts Joshua's concert transfers its trust to Joshua. We trust the institution. We now trust Joshua. The subway does not have our trust for musical talent. We do not expect to find great art, great music, or great ideas. So it confers no trust to Joshua. Pathos. The concert hall is designed for an emotional bond between an audience and an artist. The subway platform is not. The hustle and movement and stress is just not conducive to the emotional connection needed between performer and listener. Logos. Ethos. Pathos. The idea is nothing without the rest. This is what Joshua Bell learnt on that cold January day in 2007.
We also take some time to discuss the most recent form of persuasion, mythos, or the influence of the perceived peer group. While peer pressure has always played a role, this fourth method of persuasion came into its own with the advent of self-generated media in general, and social media in particular. We make a brief stop by Maslow's hierarchy of need and the role of the creative process before freshening up our understanding of brand. The key takeaway on the subject of brand is that the brand is not dictated, it is reflected by the audience based on their experience of interacting with the branded entity. We act and the audience defines. That's why the culture manifested by the brand is the single most critical ingredient of success. Visual representations are important, but no more so than exhibited values and broadly perceived assumptions. One exercise we used in our workshop is a group discussion of what kind of person our organization might be. What would that person look like? How old are they? How are they dressed? Are they friendly? Scary? Handsome or beautiful? Fat or thin? Energetic or lethargic? Are they kind, warm and approachable or off-putting in manner? It's a great way to discover brand perceptions that lie just under the surface. The final chapter touches on some of the trends in place the last time this presentation was given in 2015. Although it was tailored to meet the needs of our business-to-business audience, I've left it as a kind of cross-section of media options and approaches. Thank you for taking time with us. While I'm sure that for many of you this is simply a refresher, I've found that a review at this stage of the process is quite helpful.